Today I'm going to show you how I took a plain scrapbooking storage cube with 3 empty drawers and turned it into a beautiful velvet-lined, fully customized jewelry box. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, you're going to need several things in addition to the storage cube itself. You're going to need some cardboard for the bottom, and it needs to be big enough pieces of cardboard that'll line the bottom of the shelf. So in this case, I'm actually going to use the box that it came in itself, and then a little bit of just some other cardboard that I have for the other drawer. I'm going to use this side for one drawer, and then the other side for the other drawer, and then I'll use a square piece for the third drawer. But I mean, might as well use the box and recycle. And then you'll need some foam board in whatever color, because we're going to be covering it up. You'll need an X-Acto knife or some other kind of instrument like that with a cutting pad. You'll need a ruler or some kind of tape measure like I have here, scissors, pencil. You'll need some glue. I'm actually really enjoying just using the regular glue, but you could use some spray glue as well if you prefer. And then you'll need some fabric to line the inside of the drawers and a glue gun. And that's everything you'll need to do the inside of the drawers. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the inside, write those down, and I'm going to come to my box. I'm going to break this box down. So I'm going to take my measuring tape and I'm just going to measure out 13 by 13. I'm going to cut it out with an X-Acto knife, so just make sure you have your mat under wherever you're cutting. Mine's not big enough, so I'm going to have to move it as I go. There we go. I'm going to take my drawer back. There we go. Get it back out. So now that we've got our thing cut to the bottom of the drawer, we're going to cover that in fabric. Place that on here, just leaving about an inch on each side. We're just going to glue this down. I'm going to just use regular Elmer's glue. This part doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't want your fabric sliding around. Okay, so I'm going to take this. Now I'm going to use the hot glue gun. I'm just going to glue the edges around. On these corners, I'm just cutting off some of the excess so that this will lay straight flat. Okay, so that's the bottom. So that's just going to go in the bottom of our drawer here. You're not going to need a lot, just enough to keep it down. Point of no return, point of no return. Okay, so the bottom's lined. Perfect. So the next part is we got to line the edges. The way we're going to do this is we're going to cut strips of foam board to go around the edges and cover them in fabric. Take my foam board, and you got to decide how deep you want, how tall you want the lining to be. Like, you want to go all the way to the top? Do you want it to go just a little bit? I'm not going to go all the way to the top with mine. Keep in mind that you've got your drawer pull here. And in my case, I'm actually going to be changing this out, so you don't want to cover up your screw. So I'm actually going to go just below where my screw is. That's how tall my sides are going to be. Luckily for me, it's just the width of a ruler. So I'm going to make mine the width of this ruler. I've got my measurements from before. I'm going to draw up 2 identical pieces, the same width and height and everything. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife again, cut those out. Try to go straight down. You don't want the foam to be cut at an angle if you can help it. I've got my 2 pieces here. They're going to go this way. Now that those are there, we want to cut a piece that's going to fit the other way. So you're going to measure from foam piece to foam piece this time. So I'm going to cut 2 in the sizes that I need for the other way. Okay, I'm going to see if these fit. Yeah, that's pretty, it's very snug, but that's good. I want it to be snug. So I've got those 4 pieces. Now you got to decide what kind of dividers you want. So for me, I'm actually going to do 4 going across and 5 going back. But depending on what you're putting in here, if you're putting in necklaces, you may want to do long ones. If you're doing bracelets. You may want to do big square ones. It just depends. Now I'm making this one for a friend, and it's going to be, she's using it mostly for earrings, and so I'm doing lots of little small compartments because she needs as many compartments as possible. So that's what I'm doing for this particular drawer. So this is the point where it becomes where you customize it based on what you want. I've already determined that I need 5 dividers to go this direction and 3 to go this direction. The dividers going this direction are going to be shorter so that the ones going lengthwise will be taller so that they can overlap. So in order to do my shorter pieces that are going to go one direction, I'm going to half the width of a ruler. So I'm going to continue to cut out my pieces like usual, but I'm going to cut them in half. Okay, so I've got my 5 sideways dividers cut out, and I've got my 3 that are going to go the opposite way. The next step is to cover these in fabric. So we're going to set all this aside. Okay, so the process for covering our pieces of foam is going to be a little something like this. Find a good spot. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run some hot glue. Get as close to the edge as I can here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to just take some Elmer's glue and we're going to run it along here. Now you don't want to use hot glue here because if you do, it'll be like, you'll see the bumps from the glue, and you want these to look smooth in your jewelry box. So that's why we're just doing Elmer's glue on the sides and hot glue on the edges, because the hot glue will give it strength, but this will make it look pretty. Okay, now that that's kind of trimmed, I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue along this right here. If you get some on the edges, smooth it down. There we go. And then I'm going to flip it up like that. Going to repeat the glue. The last step is going to take the hot glue gun and run some more down at the bottom, but you don't want to run it all the way across. We just want to get it right in the corner. Just a little bit. Flip it up, but don't press it all the way. I'm just going to press it like partially here because I want to cut this off at the bottom and not have the edge sticking out the bottom. Okay, so then I'm just going to come through here, cut the extra, and then I'm going to cut across as close as I can. And as you can see, this bottom part doesn't stick out, so when it lays down, you can't tell, like you can't see the rough side. That part will go down in the bottom of the thing. So now that we've done that one, we're just going to cover the rest of our small pieces. I'm going to wait on these because these have to have the pieces cut that'll make it go across. Those I'm going to do absolutely last. So I'm going to cover these, and I'm going to cover the ones that go around the edges on the inside of the drawer, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now that I've got all my pieces on the sides covered, I'm going to go ahead and arrange where we want to put our 5 things so that we can cut out our other pieces that go the other way. In order to do that, we need to see where our pieces are going to go. So I'm just going to set these in here. So I think that actually looks pretty good that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pieces that are going to go across, I'm going to set them down in here, lay it down sideways, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take my pencil. You just want to lay it across, and you just want to sketch where your dividers are going across, so we know where to make the cuts. And right now I'm not measuring the whole thing, I'm just marking the spots. So I'm going to take that out, set this aside for a second. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to take one of these out for reference, and I'm going to hold it up here so that I know how deep I'll need to cut in order for it to cover out. I'm just going to draw a little line across, just like that. So now I know how far up I need to cut. So I'm just going to continue my lines here. The next step is just going to be to cut these little out. Okay, so before I cut out the other 3, I'm going to just set it down in here and make sure, I'm going to put it in the middle, and just make sure that's going to work. Yeah. So I think that's going to work just fine. So I'm going to use this one now as a template to make the others. I'm just going to hold it up, draw outlines. So they'll all be exactly the same. This you do want them to be exactly the same or it'll be wonky. Okay, and I'm going to cut the rest of those out and we'll go from there. Okay, so now that I've got my pieces all cut out, I just got them in here to test them to make sure that they're fitting right, and I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take those back out and we'll cover them with fabric. Just like everything else we've been covering, we'll keep the same process. So this part, this is the bottom, so we're going to glue that part down first. So that's the part we'd like to disguise as much as possible. So we're going to just put some hot glue on the bottom of this like we've been doing. Yes, we really want to make sure that we're going all the way to the edges because we want the fabric to really adhere all the way to the edges of these here so that it doesn't slide around or fall off or stop peeling or something like that. So now we've got that. So then all we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that's really pushed down. And we're just going to go through and find our little rivets. We're just going to snip the fabric out of there. Just a little bit. Just enough so that it has room to slide down. Really, you could probably even just get away with a slit. In fact, I may try that. Let's try that in our drawer. Okay, so I've got all my pieces covered and they're in here, and I haven't glued anything in yet. Now it's all pretty secure, and if you wanted to stop at this point, honestly it probably would be okay, but I'm gonna go in and put some glue in a few spots just to kind of secure everything, probably on these edge pieces where they can like wobble a little. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the tutorial. Tune in next time for the rest of the project in which I'll be decorating it and doing some customized drawer pulls. So I'll see you next time.